I'm Joy Rose, media mom, reporting for Mamapalooza here at MingleMedia TV. Talking to Sandra Ford-Walston today, the innovator of Stuck Thinking and the courage expert. Sandra, tell us just briefly about your first book, and I think you have some tips for us.
The first book was based on 5 years of original research, and it was like a dissertation. I declared that only 10% of women would perceive themselves as courageous. After collecting across the country over 750 survey forms, 11%, Joy, can you imagine? Only 11% of women perceive themselves as courageous.
I can believe that. I think courage is a word we don't even think about very much unless we're watching The Wizard of Oz and we see the Cowardly Lion, and then we say, wow, am I a scaredy cat or do I have courage?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned The Wizard of Oz, because throughout my first book, the second book will hopefully be out, Stuck, 12 Steps Up the Leadership Ladder, at the end of next month. But The Wizard of Oz and Dorothy are throughout the first book. And a colleague of mine just sent me his favorite quote from The Wizard of Oz. And the quote is, "You are under the unfortunate delusion that simply because you run away from danger, you have no courage. You're confusing courage with wisdom."
Ah, okay.
So anyway, I thought that was good. But yes, as we know, each week I try to offer a few tips based upon what I extracted after those 11% of women decided that they would answer interview questions for me. And after 3 years of interviewing them, there were 12 feminine behaviors of courage. And so each week, you and I are covering one of those behaviors with the obstacle that tries to undermine that courage action.
And I know, Sandra, that you've carefully prepared some thoughts and words of wisdom for us. So as we dive into this subject, we all need a little more courage. Tell us what your tip today is, or tonight.
Well, for tonight, the show will focus on manifesting vision. But I need to say that there's no shortcuts when it comes to manifesting career success, because it's so important to know where you want to go and develop a crystal clear vision of your intention. Now, Joy, I hope you and the listeners heard that I did not say goals. I said your intention. Courage is about the declaration of courageous intention. So to me, it's more important than a 5-year projection, which keeps you stuck in this projection and may not keep you in the present. I don't know if you know, Joy, that there's a new development that's happening in the work environment called spiritual intelligence, or SQ. For eons, we focused on IQ, and that IQ is the strong predictor of success in careers. Then we had Daniel Goleman's wonderful work come out about 17 years ago, or 20, on emotional intelligence, EQ. The next level of indicator that hovers is around spiritual intelligence, and some of the work has been by a woman, a quantum physicist named Dana Zohars, and she has 9 SQ characteristics, and I couldn't believe it. One of the 9 is called filled independence, that applies to courage. And here's her quote on this particular one. "Filled independence is a term from psychology that means the courage not to adapt, but to be independent." So I'm hoping that tonight the listeners will know and start how to develop and merge SQ, spiritual intelligence, into their courageous leadership. And by doing that, you learn to stay present so that your courage no longer is linear, but becomes organic. You are no longer on your journey 1 degree off, like a compass on a ship. And if you're on a cruise ship on the East Coast going to the Caribbean and you're off just 1 degree, it doesn't take long before you're heading to Africa. So in closing, what would be this week's question for the listener to begin to ponder? And so I ask, what energy zapper makes you feel defeated? The one that consistently keeps you from taking the next step up the leadership ladder. The obstacle for this week's approach to manifesting the vision would be self-defeat. Self-defeat keeps a in stuck thinking. So the answer is to manifest that vision. And we saw that as an example in Florence Nightingale. I mean, she was known as the Lady of the Lamp. way ahead of her time on her vision about nursing in hospitals. But she took the necessary steps to achieve results. So this week, prominently post, as we do each week, this week's productivity quote by the famous author Harper Lee. Harper Lee said, "Real courage is when you know you're licked before you begin, but you begin anyway and see it through no matter what." So what I say, as Sandra Walston, the courage expert, you do it in spite of the obstacles that try to stop feminine courage.